Hi, I'm Patty Mullen, and I want to show you Buckaroo. Buckaroo is the data table UI I built for notebook environments to better visualize pandas data frames. This expedites all the regular tasks you do every time you look at a new data set. You can scroll through the data. You can sort the data. You can see histograms of data, and you can look at the summary stats. In this case, we're looking at city bike data. These were 100,000 city bike trips back in 2016. We can also search Nassau, and now we can see we went from 100,000 rows down to 981, and our start station names changed. All of this is quick. We didn't have to type in 20 pandas commands or remember 20 pandas commands. We didn't have to use an LLM. We're just looking at data. Getting started with Buckaroo is easy. Buckaroo works in Marimo, which we're looking at, VS Code, Jupyter Notebook, Google Colab, and Marimo Pyodide WebAssembly notebooks. This is Python running entirely in your browser, so you can just click on a link and start playing with Buckaroo without installing anything. To get started with Buckaroo, type pip install Buckaroo or uv add Buckaroo, and then import Buckaroo. When you import Buckaroo, it becomes the default display mechanism for DataFrames. Let's take a look at some histograms. So Buckaroo has default numeric histograms, and it also has categorical histograms, where when you have less than five discrete values, or you have a column that is not numeric, Buckaroo treats them as categories. So in this case, we have 60% foo, 26% bar, and 14% baz. We also have special categories for unique. So every value in this column is unique, and that has that color. And there's long tail, which is the rest of the things that weren't one of the major categories, things that have less than 3%. We also can see NA. Here's what a column looks like when it only has a single value. This lets you quickly understand data that you're looking at. Doing this otherwise requires a bunch of pandas commands, and it's slow. There are other data frame visualization tools built into many packages, like VS Code, Marimo has one, Google Colab probably has something, and they're good. But you're going to take them, you have to learn a different one with each notebook environment, and they tend to not be extensible. Buckaroo recently added Autocleaning. So what do I mean by Autocleaning? I regularly look at data where I know that there's a transform that I should apply on a column, and I've done that transform before. Maybe I have to look it up, but I've done that transform before. Let's take a look at this in Buckaroo. Here we have a column that looks like mostly integers, but we have this B9. That's not an integer, which makes pandas treat it all as an object. 867-5309. We have mostly dates, but there wasn't a 17th month. And we have mostly booleans, but they're not quite. Let's try aggressive autocleaning. So now we have an integer column, a date time column, and a boolean column. We can also see the original columns. And when we turn on the low-code UI, we can see those operations, and you can see the Python code to generate this cleaning. Auto-cleaning, there are different strategies, and there are ways to write your own strategies. And because there are different strategies and it's tied with the UI, you couldn't just write auto-cleaning that said, oh, I'm going to treat everything as an integer. But when you can quickly switch between strategies, you can do that, and it becomes very useful. There are many ways you can style Buckaroo. Here we are applying a heat map to the bimodal column, and it's colored based on the normal column. So when we sort by normal, we see bimodal change. we see the colors in bimodal change. When you scroll down, you can see it totally change colors. Buckaroo is extensible in almost every way. There are very few decisions that are baked into Buckaroo that you, as just a user of Buckaroo, can't change. I think of Buckaroo as a framework for creating table apps and the initial data exploration table app that I built with it. In this case, let's add here's the code for adding an outliers post-processing function, which is one of the ways you can customize. You can customize by styling, post-processing, you can add commands to the low-code UI, and you can add different cleaning methods. So here, post-processing, this is a function that runs after any cleaning is done. And in this case, we're going to just say, if a column is int 64 or float 64, filter it to everything below the first percentile or above the 99th quantile for all the columns. So this lets us quickly see, like, what do outliers look like? And that was 11 lines of code. We can turn this off. So we have 100,000 rows. When we turn post-processing of outliers on, you go down to 44,000 rows. Summary is a different styling. You can choose different stylings and different ways of applying views on data. Give Buckaroo a try. Pip install Buckaroo, UV add Buckaroo. Give us a star on GitHub. Thank you.